Hi booktube, it's Gina. Happy Friday. Happy payday Friday. Happy first Friday in September. Happy long weekend for me. I have Monday off. I know that's not the case for everybody. So these are my favorite kinds of Fridays where there's all kinds of great things going on. And I wanted to sit down and chat with you and show you some things. I bought a couple books. And I wanted to just talk about some of my favorites for August and what I'm currently working on. So just kind of a mishmash today, a Friday mishmash. Let's start with the two books that I bought. I did a little thrift storing and I found a couple really fun things. So this is Tasha Tudor's Garden. I've not been a big Tasha Tudor fan or collector, and I'm just recently discovering her because a friend of mine is a big fan, and I'm just so in love with this book. It's gorgeous. It's got beautiful illustrations or photographs, and it just looks, it's going to be wonderful to read. I'm very excited. It's a month by month. Here's the June chapter, which is called Flowers in Profusion. And so it's just all about the garden month by month. Now, I'm not a big gardener. I thought when I lived in an apartment, I thought I would love to be a gardener. And then I got a house and I realized I don't like being a gardener. I'm too lazy. I don't like working outside. Plus, my garden is fairly shady. I live surrounded by a bunch of trees. And so I can't really grow anything flowery. Maybe if I had some flowers, I would feel differently. But mostly, I don't like weeding. I'm not a big flower person. I mean, a big gardening person. So this, I will enjoy gardening vicariously through this book because it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And then I also found this, I had never heard of this author before, Emilie Barnes. This is a 90s book. I think she was kind of big in the 90s doing these cozy home books. This is called Welcome Home, Creating Your Own Place of Beauty and Love. The cover is kind of hideous these days, and the artwork in it it's pretty dated, but it's cute. I mean, I like this. I just love these books, sort of like my Alexandra Stoddard, who will always be Alexandra will always be my favorite sort of lifestyle living author. This is living beautifully together. I love all of her books, but this one's also really nice. It's got chapters on welcoming guests and being cozy in the kitchen. And while this is not my style of decorating, I do really enjoy these kinds of cozy home books. And I'm reading this one currently, and I'm really enjoying it. And then also currently reading, I'm still working on The Feast. I am not quite halfway. I have to say, I'm struggling a little bit. So I'm just kind of waiting for something to happen. We know in the beginning of this book that a hotel falls into the sea and people get buried and die. We don't know exactly who, but it then backtracks and starts telling you about the people that are staying in this hotel. And so we're kind of learning about them, and we're hearing some of their stories, and I'm not getting that into it yet. I'm waiting for a little bit of intrigue maybe to happen, because it kind of sounds like it says 7 guests have perished, but what brought about this strange assembly together for a moonlit feast before this act of God or man? So it makes it sound like maybe there's a little bit of intrigue going on, but I haven't really seen any of that yet, other than one of the characters grinding up glass because she hates one of the people, and she plots she doesn't want to actually do it, but she's got this backup plan and she's gonna feed this person glass and kill them. So that's that one piece of intrigue that's happening. So I'm probably gonna finish this weekend, and I have a feeling I'm gonna love it because I know so many people are loving this book, but I'm not quite there yet. So we'll see. And then I thought I would just show you a few things that I finished in August. Probably not going to do an official August wrap up, but I did want to show you a few of my August favorites. Now, one book that I just finished last night had this very weird habit recently of waking up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and not being able to go to sleep. And so I will read for an hour. So I finished this book this morning at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and it is Cottage by Mary Stewart. I thought I had a copy of it. I've got a bunch of her little paperbacks, but I realize I don't have that one. I, of course, bought this and read it on my Kindle, and I loved it. Cottage. It was a very sweet story. This is my first Mary Stewart book, and I'm super excited now to dig into some of the rest of hers. It was a light romance, a little bit of mystery about a young girl just after World War II who has lost her husband of only a couple months. Her grandmother is in service and wants her granddaughter to go back to Cottage and collect up some of her things that she left there before the family that she was with moved to another area. And there's a little hidey hole with some treasures in it and a little bit of mystery, and it was just a delight. I absolutely loved it. One of my favorite reads, just as far as cozy, relaxing, low stress reading. It's perfect for reading at 3 o'clock in the morning when you can't sleep. I loved it. And then for August, my favorites for August are really these three. These were all standouts. So I did a reread of Emma. This is the annotated edition. I don't know what I was thinking when I bought this because I read Emma. I read this on my Kindle, of course. I did want the annotated version, and I would like to read the annotated version because there were certain things that I realized when I was reading it on my Kindle that I was like, oh, that I should pull up the annotated edition of. Did I actually do that? No, I did not. But this is just great. This section has got like a caution plot spoiler. And then it talks about something that was revealed later. But here's the thing. I didn't actually read this edition, but it's beautiful. I loved it. I have no room on my shelf for it. So I'm going to have to reorganize my Jane Austen shelf and maybe remove, I've got some Brontes and I've got my edition of Middlemarch here. So I don't know. I'm going to have to reorganize my shelves. I don't know why I bought this book. I mean, I loved it and I wanted it, but now I've got to figure out what to do with it. So lesson learned. But I loved the reading experience of Emma. I mean, it's kind of an odd book to me because the character is not very likable. She's such a brat. She's mean to people. She's a snob. She's kind of jerky sometimes to some of the lower class people. And she's wrong about everything. She's trying to be a matchmaker. Every single thing that she assumes is completely wrong. She never seems to learn her lesson. And it's really funny. I loved it. But you do have to get used to Emma being a little bit unlikable. I also read A Day Like Spring. I've talked about this before. This is the Harlequin Romance edition from 1968. And this is Jane Fraser, who is the pseudonym for Rosamunde Pilcher. This was such a sweet, easy, nice, cozy romance. No drama. There was a little bit of a love triangle. Of course, there were two potential men. You know exactly what's gonna happen, which I loved. It was a wonderful read. I'm so glad. I'm on the hunt now On the hunt for these Jane Fraser ones. They're not on Kindle. They're not available electronically. So I'm on the hunt for these, but also just for these Harlequin or old Mills and Boon in general, because they're so cute. I love the covers, and they're hard to find. So but I love them. And then lastly, I talked about this one already before, Susan Branch, A Fine Romance. This was her memoir of her trip and her travels to England. They took an Atlantic cruising across from New York or Boston? Yeah, New York. New York to England and then home again. And they just putter through the villages. They visited Jane Austen's house. They visited Beatrix Potter's, and I loved this. I absolutely loved it. The subtitle is Falling in Love with the English Countryside, and it really was. It was absolutely wonderful. So August was a fun month. I was participating as a co-host for Garbogust and for Book Trek 2022. I wasn't as successful with those. I didn't read a lot. I think I only read one book for each, so I was a little bit of a fail on my part. The events are wonderful. I just didn't have the brain power to too much reading other than these things that I showed you. And I did read some other books, but these were my favorites. So I wanted to focus on those. So happy Friday. I will talk to you soon. Bye.